my name is Seyeon Hwang, and I'm from University of Florida. Today, I'm interviewing you at Southside Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. Can you please tell us your name and spell it out for us?
My name is Thu Lai Mu, Thulaimu. Thu Lai Mu.
Thank you. Well, first of all, can you please tell us your hometown?
Here in Jacksonville or where?
Your hometown, where you're from.
Yes. Our ethnic group is Korean people. We originally live in Burma. Now they call Myanmar. But I live in the village called Papun. But because of the civil war is going on in Burma, it's between the Burmese military army and then between the ethnic group. That when we become a refugee, and then we move place to place, and then we end up in Thailand refugee camp.
And how long did you live in the refugee camp in Thailand, and can you also tell us the name of it?
Yes, when we get in Thailand in 1995, and then we live in the refugee camp since there, and then until 2010. So about 15 years, me and my family live in the refugee camp.
And when did you come to Jacksonville?
I came to Jacksonville in 2010. I arrived in June 2010.
So you came to Jacksonville and you've been here?
Since 2010, yes.
Within Jacksonville, did you have to move a lot? Did you live in one place?
No, I didn't move a lot. When we first came in, we came through the Lutheran in Jersey, and then they placed us at Stonemount Village at the apartment over there, and then I lived there for about 2 years, and then now I moved to another apartment complex where I live right now at Clearview Townhouse over there.
Is it still within Southside?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So let's start by having you pick out 3 topic cards that you want to talk about.
Okay. I'll pick up Jacksonville. And the safety here. What's else? Okay. Okay. Friends. So friends? Just 3, yeah.
Just put these away. Right. So, which one would you like to start talking about? You can pick any topic, all of 3.
Okay, I'll pick just like this. So the first thing I want to talk about Jacksonville. Since I have been in Jacksonville in 2010, it's for me it's like a big city when I have been here. Because we live in refugee camp, so we are not seeing a big city like this before, and then we are not able to travel outside the camps. So when we get in Jacksonville, we see a lot of things going on here, and then we see a lot of things that we do not see before, and that it's really interesting, and that I really like the Jacksonville. And then the weather in Jacksonville is a lot like in Thailand refugee camps, so it's not too cold for us, so the weather is really good for us. And then I really like the environment here, so not very crowded, the place where we live, and then we don't have any problem, not very often. So I really like Jacksonville. When I travel to the other places, maybe I'm not used to live in there, so I don't like the other place more than Jacksonville. Yeah, here we have like a beach and a park, so not very far from us, so it's really convenient for us to travel for the family vacations and then to take our kids to the park and to the community playground. So it's really convenient for us.
Do you go to the beach and park, these public places a lot?
Yes, we used to go during the summer. We take our kids and then our community over there, and then we just have a party or we just have worship service at the beach, and then after that we go and enjoy ourselves in the oceans.
And also parks too.
Yes.
Did you guys used to go on a picnic?
Yes. Our community activity, we used to do it. We used to do that at the park. So we go and gather over there, and if we have any event that's special for our community, we just do there, and then we have a meal, and then everybody enjoy that.
It seems like when you came here, you were settled in Southside, and you've been here Southside since you came to the city. What did your impression on Southside? What do you think of that part of the city?
Southside Baptist Church is, a place that's caring for the people. So as a refugee, when you get into a big city like this, you don't know where to go, and you don't have any friends. When we first came here, we don't have a lot of current people here, but we don't have a lot of friends who knows to go to get public assistance. But we have a friend at Southside Baptist Church go and looking for us at the apartment complex, and then they are helping us with to go to the hospital, something like that, and then applying for the public assistance. And that most of our people do not know where to go, and that they do not know how to drive when you first came here, and then you don't know anywhere you have to go. So Southside, it's really helped us to do that, and then they also bring us to church, and then we just build up our friendships same there, and then they are very good for our current people.
Is the services or the assistance that you get from the church different from what you get from Lutheran Services? And how different are they? Yes,
there's, totally different. The assistance that we get from the church is, the church helping us with how to go to the hospital, and that they have a volunteer that take our current people to the hospital, take our current people to the different appointments. But the agency like Lutheran or Worldly have us, within 3 months. But it's very difficult for the people from the jungle just get into a big city, get help only for 3 months. After 3 months, they don't know where to go and then what to do. So it's really a challenge for people who never been into the city. So Southside's volunteer, they do understand about that, and that they just continue to help our current people seen there until now, because people are come from the jungle, so they do not have much education even though they live here. So it's when you are old, it's not easy to get education, and then not easy to learn a language because of the language barrier. So they have a lot of problems, but Southside really helped us with that.
And it seems like you have been living around and where the Southside Baptist Church is.
Yes.
Not too far from it.
Yes, not too far from it.
Is there a particular reason why you are not deciding to, say, move out to north of the northern part of Jacksonville, or is there a particular reason why you're staying around?
When we first came here, because the agency placed us here, and then we are comfortable to live in the area where we live. Some people move to the other side of the city at west side, but most of the people live at the south side. And now some of them bought a house and then they prefer the south side better than the west side and north side.
Why do you think so? Why do you think that is?
I think the south side is, really safe more than the other parts of the city. So because there's not a lot of crime happening at the south side, but other part of the city like the north side and west side, we feel like it's not not safer than the south side.
Okay. Now you said that you have lived in refugee camp at the Thailand border of Burma. Can you tell us a little bit about your life back there?
Yes. When we leave Burma and then we come into Thailand, then we become a refugee. So long story short, we become a refugee. We live in the refugee camp. For me, I live in there for 15 years. So it's very long time in there. So the life in refugee camp is not easy. So we are surrounded by the wire fence. So we are not allowed to go outside the camps. So it is very difficult to live in the camps. But we do have school, we do have hospital, we do have, everything. The UNHCR provided for the refugee people. But the only thing is we are not allowed to go outside the camps, because if you go outside the camp, it's kind of like illegal to go out there, so you can get arrested or you can sent back to the border.
And how was getting food or getting housing or even working, getting education was like in the camp?
Yes, in the camps, the UNHCR provide the school for the camp people, and then they also provide the material that we are going to build a house. So they give us a tool like a bamboo and wood and leaf, those things, so we can build like a tent. So we live in the camps, and then they give us a food like we used to eat, like rice, salt, and oil, and chilies, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you also do cooking in the house?
Yes, we do cooking in the house. So we need to get our food like once a month. So.
And that's something that the UNHCR
yes.
to everyone? Was there a market, or what if you needed something, wanted to buy it? And
yes, we do have a small market in the camps.
And who runs it?
Some of the time people come in and then sell the food or some other thing that people need in the camp, like twice a week or something like that. But some other small markets, like people in the camps, they're trying to run their own small business in the camps, and then those who have a connection with the people outside, they do that.
What would be some examples of the small business?
Just selling some bread or milk or the things that people use on everyday life.
And would there be a currency? Would there be money? What kind of money?
Yes, we use the Thai baht in refugee camps because we live in Thailand, so we use the Thai currency.
Is money something you can earn within the camp, or do you get allowance from the UNHCR?
No, we do not get any money from UNHCR. Those who work at the hospital, so they get some salary through the UNHCR, because UNHCR is supporting the hospital and they're supporting the school program. Those who work at school, they can earn some money from that. But other people, they do not get a job. So it's very difficult to get money from works.
Okay. Are families or visitors allowed to come to the camp? And even yourself, are you allowed to travel to, say, another camp outside where you live?
Yes, we are allowed to travel to another camp sometime, but we have to get a traveling ticket, something like that. But sometimes, even though we have a traveling ticket, it doesn't work. So if you want to, you can get arrested with that. But for the foreigners, just like a missionary, like other tourists go and visit, I mean, we have a lot of visitors in the camps. And we also have a Korean people go and visit, Korean missionary team, I should say, go and visit the camp once a year, and then they support some other school in the camps as well.
How did the resettlement process start when you were in camp? Did you apply for it? How did you get the information on the possibility of resettlement? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, in 2005, we hear about that country resettlement. So, country like Canada and Australia and others, Europe countries, they come and take a refugee. If anybody want to apply for the third country resettlement, yes, they take those people. But I mean, a lot of people want to apply for the third country resettlement, so they just take only a few families. Even though a lot of people are applying, they just take only a few families. But in 2005, United States, opened a wide door for everyone, so they come and take the people. So if you want to apply for that country resettlement, and that if you want to come to US, so you have to go through the process. The first they call OPE, and then go to DHS, and then they're trying to do all the tests and exam and the interview, and then after that you have to wait for your name to come to the country.
And how long did that process take?
The process take about a year, 6 months to a year. So since you register and then you come to the third country, so if your information is going smoothly, it takes less time. But if complicated with the family issue, so it takes longer.
And there will be people that will be whose application will be denied during the process.
Yeah, they only take people who live long enough in the refugee camps. Yes, just like me and my family live like 15 years, so we have like a refugee identity, but you cannot go anywhere with that.
Did you want to come to the United States, or did you initially want to go to other countries?
Yes, for me, I really want to come to United States. I mean, the first time, I just want to get out of the camps. So if any country take me, I will go. But I applied for the Canada, but it doesn't work for me because they do not take a lot of people. But I mean, finally, the United States come to take the people, and then I apply for that. But I really like United States because they come at last.
When you were living in the camp, though, you said that you weren't allowed to travel outside, but would you be allowed to permanently leave the camp and go somewhere else? Is it something that's allowed?
I think so, but I'm not sure. But if you leave the camp and then go back to Burma and then live there, I think you can do that. But I mean, it is not easy to go back and live there. But if you want to go, if you have a family or friends in Thailand and then you want to stay with them, I think you can do that. But I mean, it depends on your situation over there.
You described the jungle. You described the camp as a jungle. How would you compare it to cities like Jacksonville?
So in the refugee camp, so you don't have electricity, you don't have, now they have running water, but when we first came in, there's no running water, so you have to carry water from the river to your tents, and they used to do that, and then you don't have electricity, and then you don't have a building like this, so just only you build a building with a bamboo and roof. You make a roof with leaf and then some wood.
What about communications, like using the internet?
No, there's no internet because there's no electricity, there's no internet, no phone, no nothing.
Was that like that during the whole time that you lived in?
Yes. But now they have, I think now they have internet, they have phone, but not everybody afford to do that.
So you have to pay for it?
Yeah, you have to pay for that.
But then there's no job. So
there's no job, yes. Because now a lot of people have a relative come to other country like US, Canada, so they can get some money from their family and friends that helping each other.
So when you came to Jacksonville, how did you come with your whole family?
Yes, when I came to Jacksonville, I came with my whole family. All my family is live in Jacksonville. At the Southside area, we are not live very far from each other. So I have like 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They all married.
Can you tell us about the journey of coming all the way to the United States from the camp?
Yeah, it's really funny when you leave the camps and then you come to United States, so you don't know where you are going, and then you don't know what's going to happen to you, and then you don't know what you're going to do. So when you leave the camp and then you take the bus to the Bangkok, and then you take a flight to Japan and then to New York, and then we came here to Jacksonville. And then when I on the way, so you have IOM bags, so you don't know where to go, and then you have to lift up your IOM bags. So the people who are helping you with directions know that you are a refugee, and then they can direct you where you're supposed to go. Sometimes when we get into Jacksonville, we don't have any people, so we just stuck at the airport, so waiting there and waiting. So it's really difficult. And then when we get into the apartment, because we don't have any electricity, and then when we came here in June, it's really hot, and the outside is like 101 or 102 degrees. So me and my family do not know how to set up the thermostat, even though we have air conditioner in our apartment, so we don't know how to set up. So we stay in very hot. And then we don't know how to cook with the stove, electric stove here, so it's very difficult when we get here in the first and second weeks.
Was there some help that you got from the existing Korean community, or were you the first one to come here?
Yes, we have a few family came here before us, but because they're working, so they do not come to us during the day, so in the evening they come and visit us, and then we just start getting help from them, showing us how to use the stove, showing us how to use the air conditioner, to set up the thermostats, those things.
So yeah, did you make a lot of friends while you were in Jacksonville?
Yes, right now we have a lot of friends, because after we came here, and then other Korean families also arrived here, and then we also have Southside Baptist Church as our friends. So we do have a lot of friends at Southside Baptist Church. And we also have a friends like other churches, because right now we are working with JBA, so Jacksonville Baptist Association. So I have a lot of friends at JBAs, and then some other pastor around here.
Can you also tell us about how you decided to become a pastor, and how you became part of Southside Baptist Church?
Yes. Before I came here, some of the Korean people already came to Southside Church, and then they worship here. And then, but when I came, and then they want to elect me to be a pastor to take care of to take care of the Korean community. So I did that in 2011 because I already graduated from theological seminary in Thailand. So I also have a bachelor degree over there. And then when I came here, they elect me to be just a leader. And then in 2012, Southside Baptist Church brought me on staff, and then they assigned me to be a minister to our Korean people.
And what has been your role within the church, aside from giving sermons, in terms of community engagement?
Yes, I do a lot of things. As a minister to the Korean people, I help in Korean people whatever they need. Not everything, just the things that they are not able to do by themselves, like getting their green cards. Right now, I'm going to the hospital sometime, and then just interpret for them when they get into the hospital because of the language barrier. I used to help them with that, and then right now I'm also helping them to apply for the citizenship. Southside also, teaching a class for citizenship class here, and they're also helping other people who are able to understand English, and they're helping them to apply for the citizenship.
Have you also seen some Korean people that arrived in the United States, but in another city that moved into Jacksonville?
Not a lot of, because when we first came here, there's very few jobs in Jacksonville. So a lot of people, they get here and then they move up to the other states. Not a lot of people come, but later we have other people from Thailand come and live here. And then we also have a lot of American people, like our children who born here. A lot of them are grown up here.
How many people do you have here for how many Korean people do you have here for at the church?
Our Korean community in Jacksonville is about 1,000. Yes, but our church member is 200, and then we also have children. We also have other people. They are not a Christian, but we also include them part of our community, and then we also visit them and then just helping each other.
So you have about 200 people that come to the church, but you're also reaching out to the people that don't.
Yes.
Okay.
Because other Korean people, they are not a Christian, they are Buddhist, and there's some denomination as well.
Maybe we can move on to the next topic of safety. Can you tell us about that?
About the safety, we live in Burma. It's not very safe for our Korean people, even though you live the whole life. For our Korean people who live in the jungle, so they do not have any identity. So there's no safety guarantee for their life. So if you get killed, and then you get killed, but nobody is responsible for your safety. And then even though we live in the camps, and then we have like a camp guard, like a Thai soldier guarding, but even though they are trying to protect the camps, but sometimes we do not feel like we are safe in there, because a lot of things going on in the camp. Sometimes people get killed. Some other how do I say it? Some other, like a Burmese soldier or Democratic Korean Buddhist armies came into the camps and then just throw some gun over there. So we feel like it's not very safe. But I just want to talk about the safety when we get in here. So we feel like we are safe. even though you are not a citizen, I mean, you have a right like other people do, and then the police trying to protect you, and then when you call them, they are responsible. And then when anybody gets hurt or anybody gets, I mean, abused, I mean, the people, the government are responsible for that.
Do you feel that the city has enough to give you, make you feel like you're fully safe, or do you think there is some room for improvement?
I think it depends on the area when you live. So the place where we live is, we feel like it's very safe, even though sometimes we see things going on, but not close to our area. So we feel like very safe, but at the other areas, I mean, it's not really safe. But it's safer than the place where we live in the camp or in the Burma, if you compare to those things.
Since you've been helping a lot of refugees who come here for resettlement, what do you think is, what are some challenges do you think they most commonly face as they resettle in Jacksonville?
The most challenge for them is the language barrier. And then when we first came in here, it's like a job. There's not a lot of job in Jacksonville, but right now our Korean people work everywhere, so it's no need to worry about the jobs. And that's only in the language barriers, so it's very difficult to apply for a job if you do not understand English. So, and then if you go to school or if you go to any places like hospital, so there's a challenge for the language.
So what are the usual jobs that a lot of the people, when they come here, they take on? And
mostly they work at the manual labors, they work at chicken factory, and then they work at crown production. Right now we have a lot of people work at crown production and chicken factory, and then some other, because there's a lot of job right now, but most of our Korean people work in those places, and hydraulic production. Some they do housekeeping in the hotel.
How do people usually get their jobs?
When we first came here, we get a job because of our caseworker looking a job for us. But right now, because we have our connection with our people who work in the companies, if a friend or family needs a job, so we can talk to our supervisor, and then they can show us the way how to apply. And then even because we already have a people over there, so it's a lot easier for us to get a job. Because we get connection with a lot of company right now.
When people are getting around, for example, when commuting to their workplace, how do they usually get there? Is it by driving their own car?
Yes, they right now they have their own car, so they go to job by their cars. Those who newly arrive, they do not have a car, but their friends pick them up, and then they go with their friends. So they try to help each other like that.
At first, though, when you came here, when there wasn't a lot of Korean people around, did you have to take the public transportation?
Yes.
And how was that?
When we first came here, because we don't have a lot of Korean people, and then not much Korean people have a car, so I have to take a public transportation. So I work at school, so I have to take a bus to the school. And then, I mean, the public transportation is not really good in Jacksonville, because, I mean, the bus run just like every 1 hour. So if you miss one bus, you have to wait another hour. So it's very difficult. And then during the cold season, yeah, it's really not really good. I mean, you have to wait at the bus stop, and then it's really cold outside. But just within a year, and then we try to get a cheap car, and then so it's getting better.
When you are working with refugees, do you think the resettlement is a bit easier for the family who has children, or do you think it's easier for the family who doesn't have children?
I think the family who doesn't have children is easier in the other way, because they have less appointments and that they have less things that they need to do, and that they are able to walk, and that they do not need to worry about taking care of their children. But those who have a lot of children, it's very challenging for that. They have to go to a lot of appointments for the children and for themselves as well, and that they have to take children to school. So because of the language barrier and the transportation, really challenged for them when they first came to a big city like this.
What would be the average household size of the Korean refugees who come here?
About 6, 7, yeah.
Sometimes with their parents.
Yes. Yeah, most of the Korean people have at least 4 children.
Wouldn't it be also is it also challenging for them to find housing then, because they have to accommodate a large number of family?
Yes. Yes, a few family has a challenge for looking for an apartment complex because of the bigger family. So the apartments also have a limited people.
When you're looking for apartments or buying a house, how does that usually happen, and how do you get the information? Please tell us about
that. Right now, because a lot of people live around the city here, so they know all the apartment complex, and then they just get the implication through their friends who live in that apartment. Yes, most of them get the information through the friends.
Friends who live there.
Live there, yes.
The same apartment. I see. Is there like other ways other than getting a job? Because I think that there will be also people within the households that have to stay and take care of the children.
Yes.
Are there any other means through which some of these people are involved in the economy, like gardening or producing their own, like doing a little bit of agriculture in their backyard, or
those who own a house, so they just plant something at their backyard, but not everybody doing that.
That's all I guess I think I covered a lot of the questions I wanted to ask you. Did you have a particular experience or story that you wanted to share with us?
The only thing that I want to share, we get a better life here in the United States. So if we compare to the place where we live and where we come from, we get a better opportunity, and that we have a better life. As I mentioned, we live in Jacksonville, and that we just feel like it's more safer than the place where we came from, and that we also have a friend who are caring for us. As Southside Baptist Church is, it's a really good friend for our Korean people. So they're trying to help us with anything that we are not able to do by ourselves. So because we have a lot of friends here, so it's really, make our life a lot of better. But when we came here, so you live in a big country, in a big city like this, the only thing that you have to know, you have to follow the rule and the regulation. If you do something against the law, so you also can get in trouble. There's a good things, but sometimes our Korean people do not understand the law and the regulation, and that they do not read English language sometimes. They accidentally get in trouble for not understanding that.
Do you think the city officials know well about the presence of your community, or city officials or people that are in the position of making policy or program decisions that impact the refugee communities? Do you think they're aware of the Korean people?
I'm not sure about that. But I mean, for the church people and the church, like a Jacksonville Baptist Association, or the religious organization like a Baptist Association, that because we are working with them, so they know a lot of Korean people, and then they know a lot of our refugee situation. But I'm not sure about the city or the authority understand all detail about our story, our backgrounds.
Do you think there's enough advocacy for the refugees in Jacksonville?
I think so.
I think so. Who do you think are the main actors of leading the advocacy for refugees in the city?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, but you still think that you're being protected and you're given enough access?
Yes.
To what the city has to offer.
Yes.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so
Yes.
much for doing the interview.
Yes.
Yeah.